All right, hello everybody. I just magically appeared here online. I see that we've got people now lining up for our webinar and we are just about ready to get started. If you are here, could you please do me a favor and raise your hand by clicking on that button for me in your toolbar? Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I see you. I am waving back at you. That's one of the features we're going to be using today once we get started. We have about 3 minutes, so if you'll just wait with me, we're going to get a few more people on and we'll get going. In the meantime, for people that are here, it would be great if you familiarize yourself with your toolbar. Would love to know here if people could put it into the chat, if you could, or in the QA. If you can see my screen. Could you type that actually into the QA for me if you can see my screen? Yes, okay, and even more specifically, thanks Mary, thanks Kim, thanks Julie. Can you see me? Type that in first, yes or no. Can you see me? Cool. And can you see the webinar screen that shows a guy sitting back with FutureThink on the screen? Yes, okay, so one more time, people that have joined, type in for me into the chat if you can see my slides. Excellent. Thank you, Marie. Can see slides. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan in the house, Hannah in the house. Fantastic. Brandy's here. Great. Okay. Fantastic. I'm trying some new glasses today. Got a new background today. All good. All good. We got a couple more minutes before we get started. Everyone should be on mute. Everyone should be comfortable. And we're going to start here in just 1 minute. Excellent. We got a bunch of people joining. People that just joined, do me a favor, type into your chat bar so I can make sure you are familiar with the chat bar. If you can see my slides, it says FutureThink in blue with a picture of a guy kicking back at his desk because he's collaborating so well with his team. Cool. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Kathy. Cool. Stacy, welcome. All good. Okay, one last shout out to the attendees here, just getting everybody used to things. If you could, give me a high five by putting your hand up. If you know how to do that functionality. Marie put her hand up. Yuli, great, welcome. Allison, thank you, give me a high five, I appreciate it. Okay, we are at 1 o'clock, we start on time. I wanna welcome everybody today to the 15-minute Work Hack webinar. I'm just gonna take a quick moment and make sure I've got my recording on for everybody. Fantastic. This is great. This is the second in our series of Work Hack webinars. We're going to give you tips, tricks, and work hacks that are going to help you reinvent business in turbulent times and frankly in any time. For my friends that are here online, my clients, thank you for joining today. And for those of you that don't know me, thank you for joining today. I'm the CEO of FutureThink, and we are an accelerated learning company that helps teams in person and remotely and on demand reinvent how they work. So if you need help in terms of helping yourself simplify, to innovate, or just better embrace change remotely or on demand with your dispersed teams, this webinar is for you, as well as some of the other things we do that we can talk about at another time. So we don't have much time, and I want to make it worth your time. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping first. So right here, if you can see my slides, I want you just to be familiar with your Zoom menu bar features because the best ways to collaborate are to interact. If you have a question, you can type it into the chat. I can't promise I'll get to it because I'm talking really fast. If you want to be able to interact with me, give me a high five. Those of you that already high five me, you need to lower your hand. Do that on your toolbar for me now, as well as we have Q&A. One of the things I want you to know is this is designed to be 15 minutes of tips and tricks, and then at the end we will do Q&A, and we'll take it for as long as we need to. This is being recorded. All participants that are here are going to get a copy of the recording with a link after, so if you want to take notes, great. If you don't, don't. Everything you'll get afterwards. Let's dive in. So what are we doing today? Today is stop meeting and start collaborating. Now, the reality is why I wanted to do this topic is working from home and being remote isn't new, but the intensity of it is. So what we used to do sporadically, now we do constantly. And we're realizing it's hard to keep people focused, keep them engaged, and keep them accountable when we're working remotely. What we do offline doesn't translate online, and we want to be able to do a better job. So let me get a quick pulse from everybody here before we dive in. And I want to hear from you. How well do you and your teams collaborate remotely currently? I'm going to launch a poll. I'm going to do that right now. And I would like to hear from you what you think. How does your team currently collaborate remotely? You don't do it? It's just about meetings. We've tried it with some basic tools. We actively collaborate, or we're so on it, we're using tools, techniques, and frameworks and challenges constantly. Enter in your thoughts. I'll give you 10 seconds. I'm going to launch the results. We don't do it, all the way up to we are so on it, we continually do it, we're blowing people's minds. Okay, I'm going to end the polling. Let's share the results. Here we go. Number 1, collaboration is really, surprise, just about Zoom, Teams, WebEx, Skype, and more, Google Hangouts. You've tried some basic tools, is up there. Some of you actively collaborate and work. Share docs, a lot of people use Google Docs, whiteboards, etc. That's fantastic. I want to get you up to the highest bar, which is continually using those tools. That's what we're focused on today. So let's get started with that. We're going to cover 3 things in the 15 minutes or less that we have, and here we go. We're going to normalize being virtual. Sounds stupid, has to be done. People aren't doing it enough. 2, we're going to use tools, not just tech. And 3, we're going to avoid over collaboration by embracing what I call a mini mindset. Here we go. So number 1, let's normalize being virtual. Sounds kind of easy, right? But here's the issue. Most of us are not consistently mandating that we do a good job being virtual. And by doing that, what I mean is, first of all, using video. I think most people have the tools and they have the bandwidth, and it's better to use video than audio. I mean, think about this. Imagine you'd go into a regular conference room. Half the people are sitting at the table and the other half are hiding under it. That's what it's like to have a mixed meeting with half the people on audio, half are on video. Here's the deal. Audio is passive, video is active. And what we do know from different surveys is people that use video in their meetings are 27% more productive than those that don't. And it makes perfect sense. Here's why. We're more human and we're more accountable for our actions. The good news about remote teams is people want to engage. The bad news is they don't know how. Video allows us to do a few things. Importantly, it allows us to build trust. That's a big deal. And it allows us to be more present. It also allows us to see the nonverbals. It's one thing if I'm presenting like this. It's another thing if I'm really engaged. You get a feeling that I'm enjoying it more. The other thing is there's some social behavior happening with video that you don't get with audio. Fun fact, when we're on a video call with each other, we spend half the time looking at our colleagues and the other half looking at ourselves. We're kind of self-monitoring our behavior. And we do this because, well, we want to be good teammates. There was a great social experiment that was done in bars. And they found that bars that had mirrors behind the bartender had patrons that were less drunk, less rowdy. That might be good for some of our meetings, by the way. They paid attention more, they were kinder, they were more patient, and they spent more money. The next time you have a meeting, make sure that you put it on video. It'll build teamwork and make people more accountable and engaged faster. The second thing we have to do to normalize behavior is share our environment. I think people have a lot of hang-ups, like it's creepy that people are looking at their environment. But I think what happens is we all experience something like this cartoon right here. In fact, give me a hand up here if you've ever thought about any of these things when being on a video conference before. My kids are going to walk into my office. There's a cat or an animal on my keyboard. Oh my God, does my neck look like that? I should have showered. You get the idea. In fact, I see almost everybody putting their hand up, which is fantastic. What we need to do to normalize behavior, frankly, is to kind of get the elephant out of the room. And one thing that I found with groups that I work with, and these are some of my friends at Bank of America, some of my friends that work at Facebook, some of my friends that work at the Knowledge Society, they actually have virtual tours of their colleagues' offices. And they do this in the first 10 minutes of their meetings, the first time they meet, and they invite colleagues to do a couple things. Show an artifact in their office that people might be curious about on their back shelf. Show your dog. I've actually had people do that. Invite some of the people that are constantly going to be distractions into the picture. I might love to meet your kid in a meeting. So we know what's going on, and frankly, the constraints that our colleagues are under. What this does is humanize the situation. It makes us realize more about each other, and again, it creates trust. Sounds simple, but these are easy things you can do. Use your video, share your environment, get people to take a virtual tour, and get over it. All right, now let's get into it. That's number one. Number two is a little bit more sophisticated. Now this is where, if you were taking notes, I might take notes. I want to give you some tools. And the reason I want to give you tools for collaboration is because tech is not a strategy. Too many of us are thinking about collaborating as, I've got Zoom, I've got Google Hangouts, I've got Teams. That's like saying we all got into a conference room and voila, we're collaborating. That's not how it works. I want to give you some things that you can do to make your meetings more about actions and decisions and less about just sharing information. Remember, email is for information. Meetings are for actions and decisions. These tools I'm about to give you, there's 3 of them, are ways you can better collaborate by doing maybe things pre-meeting and post-meeting and doing better breakouts in the meetings. Here's number 1. The first is a barrier busting session. This is really cool, and I'm using an example from a small group we did with Accenture once. What this does is this allows your teams to align and solve top business challenges. What we do is we have people identify and eliminate unproductive tasks or barriers to getting things done. Here's how it works. You will do this slightly different if you have a small team versus if you have a big team. Bigger teams tend to need to do things more offline and then come back, versus small teams can do them in breakouts immediately in a meeting. All these things, by the way, can take an hour or less to do. So, first of all, send out a survey pre-meeting. What are the biggest barriers that we have to getting work done? Do we do these consistently, sometimes, or never? Somebody gathers the findings, like the ones you see here, and we present them. Everyone aligns and discusses them. That's really some of the cool magic, is seeing what other people said barriers. You then pick the top 3. That's what we did with Accenture. We paired people up. We sent them into breakout rooms virtually, and they had 10 minutes to overcome those barriers and come back and present 2 solutions to the barriers that the team could vote on. In less than an hour, we presented results. We aligned on the top 3 barriers. We did breakout rooms. We came back and presented 6 solutions, and they implemented 2 of them. So next time you want to meet, think about, rather than just having a status meeting, be productive and do a barrier busting session. Okay, number 2, here we go. Kill a stupid rule challenge. Sometimes meetings can be about challenges. I want to talk to you about Kill a Stupid Rule. Many of you that work with us know very well about Kill a Stupid Rule, but this is a really great thing that you can do virtually. Kill a Stupid Rule is great, especially now when we're reevaluating how we work, to get rid of just crap, unnecessary tasks, assumptions around how we work that aren't going to work anymore virtually. It's time to relook at how we work. So here's what we do, and I'm going to give you an example of when we worked with AT&T. This is something I actually did live virtual with over 800 people. We posed the question, and you can read it here. I want you to think about a process, procedure, rule, or something that could be simplified with your team. What stupid rule would you kill? Hint, hint, with your team, only let them do it within their sphere of control. We don't want people complaining or bitching up. We want them to do it within their sphere of control. Within seconds, we had dozens of rules scrolling up in the chat on screen. We could quickly see themes that were happening. Multi-layered decision-making was slowing things down. Too much jargon was getting in the way, and people weren't able to have clarity. We then discussed those themes quickly virtually. We had people vote on the ones that were actually submitted, which ones people wanted to kill, and we killed those rules on the spot. At the end of it, in less than 10 minutes, we had over 800 rules, and we had identified key themes and actually gotten rid of some of the rules, which were quick wins on the spot. Here's how you'll do it. Use your chat function if you're a small team and invite people to submit rules that they think are stupid, waste of time, time sucks. Have a moderator, could be the meeting leader, to actually throw out what they think the themes are. If it's a small enough group, discuss which ones you think are quick wins and kill them. If it's a big group, take the information, it's gold, it's IP that you're gathering right in a meeting, collate it, and present it back to people as the top 10 rules or themes and have them vote in your next meeting which ones to kill. Okay, next one and final one. I'd love you to run an impossible to possible session. Why is this good? Impossible to possible is gold, because what it does is it teaches you the best way to solve problems is to give them away. And that's not how we think of collaborating. What this does is it gives you novel solutions to problems by posing different challenges and then pairing people up to swap their impossibles, and they have to make the ones they inherit possible. Here's what you can do. You can pose any type of challenge. Here's a few that we do with teams. So here's a few we posed with HBO once. Industry impossibles. What things will never happen in our industry that we want to brainstorm? Customer impossibles. What would a customer say that we would never do for them? It's just impossible, and we'd like to change. Or number 3, internal impossibilities. What cultural or organizational barriers would we love to be able to do, but it's impossible. Here's how you do it. You give people 10 minutes to brainstorm individually, online or before, 2 to 3 impossibilities to the challenge you've presented. People then are paired up and you put them in breakout rooms. Again, for large groups, you can do this offline. They have to swap their impossibility with their partner, and the ones that they inherit, they have 10 minutes to solve and come up with solutions for. Groups come back together. You invite different people to present the impossibles they inherited and present their possibles and vote on the ones that you think should be implemented. It's really cool because we don't realize the social science behind. It's very hard for people to solve their own problems, but it's really easy for people to solve others. Okay, last one, we are almost out of time. I want us to avoid collaboration overload. First, we normalize behavior, then we get people to engage, and then people do it to death. We want to stop doing that. I have a lot of clients that I spoke to today. Shout out to my friends here at Novartis, as well as from State Street, who both reported it's amazing now that we're working remotely. You'd think you'd be able to have more work-life balance. They've never been in meetings more. We've got some social behaviors we need to change. I want you to embrace a mini mindset. Here's how you do it. I'd like you to think how Cleveland Clinic does, which is they have lots of mini meetings. They used to have really long meetings once a week. Say it was Thursdays, and they'd have 2-hour meetings. They were time sucks, they were horrible, they were just depleting to people's energies. Well, they were important though. So instead they did 15-minute stand-ups. And they said that this was much better in terms of getting people to focus, only talk about what mattered, and get back to heads down work. The next thing is, I would love everyone on this call to stop doing meeting-only Fridays. Meeting-free Fridays, and I would like you to reverse it and only have meetings on one day, like Fridays. We have to get out of this mindset of we can have meetings every day except one day, versus flipping it and say, let's never have meetings except have them all on one day. We need more heads down time. Think about meeting-only days versus meeting-free days. The next thing is drop-offs. This is the latest trend in meetings, and you have to think about your meeting as an inverted pyramid. Here's what happens. Everyone has a status meeting. Some things are meant for more people than others. You start with the topics that involve everybody, and like a carpool, you just keep dropping off people more and more and more until the core team is left at the end of the meeting to handle just those topics that are meant for a smaller group. Final thing, the uninvite. We have a thing at FutureThink where it is a compliment, a blessing, you're so pumped up when you are not invited to a meeting. That sends a signal that your time is too valuable to attend. If you have a metric or a social norm where it's cool to be uninvited to something, that really says something about your culture. Start thinking about the uninvite to meetings and making that a good thing. Okay, we are out of time. We are normalizing behavior by going virtual and having video and giving people a tour of our space. Make it human. We're going to use tools, not tech. Tech is not a strategy. You're going to create challenges. You're going to have barrier busting meetings. You're going to kill rules and use those breakout rooms. You're also going to avoid over collaboration with mini meetings or the uninvite. I hope those are useful. Those are just some tips. Here's the biggest tip of all. Don't do all of those. Try one in the next week. See how it works with your team. Join me next time where we are just going to have 15 minutes of full-on humor, the best in remote meeting humor that I found online, and I'm going to invite you to share yours. These are my favorite background Zoom images that I found people using online that I think are hilarious, and I'm going to give you links to find more of these. If you want to learn more about what we do remotely and on demand, remote keynotes, virtual workshops, or on-demand stuff so you can do things on your own, give us a shout out. Of course, if you want to shout out differently and just collaborate, pay us a social visit. And finally, we hope that you got some tips and tricks and work hacks so you can get to the work that matters and reach your potential. I would love it if you have questions to please feel free and type those in. Or if you're done with your 15 minutes and need to drop off, I'll see you next time. So right now I'm happy to take some questions for everybody. Again, those of you that are here, happy to be able to share more. Okay, we do have some questions. I'm giving a special shout out to Alain, who is writing me. I think he is in the Netherlands. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to Jessica, shout out to Michelle. Okay, I do have a question. When is the next one? The next one will be, I think it's going to be in 2 weeks, everybody, and we'll make sure to give everyone an invite. There is a question here about what tool do I use for a live poll. There's a few different ways that we've done it. We've done things also in SurveyMonkey beforehand. We've used some other polling software that I will send out to everybody that's interesting. Poll Everywhere and Poll Anywhere are two different places that allow people to do polling on their phone, as well as I do polling right from Zoom, which is the platform of choice for us. Thank you for that question. Here's another one. Of the tools that I presented, thank you, Brandy. Thank you for your note. Of the tools that I presented, which are my favorites, yeah, I'm pretty biased. Since I created most of the tools, I love them all. The one that I think is most culture building for a team, I'll rank them in order. I think that Kill a Stupid Rule is gold. You get to know quite quickly what people's barriers are. And frankly, what really drives them crazy, right? What's just unproductive and where they could be using their time better. It's a really freeing challenge. It's easy. You can gather IP like nobody's business and save yourself time and money instantly. The next one it was interesting. I was talking to my friends at State Street today. The next one that I think is really good for people is impossible to possible. And the reason for that is, I don't think people realize the power of giving away their problems. Right? We hold on to them like we love them for some reason. Like we're the only ones that could possibly understand them. And, you know, we need to get over ourselves. I'm probably the worst at that because I think if it's my problem and I haven't solved it, well, nobody could possibly solve this problem. I mean, I got to get over myself. I think the best thing you could do is give it away. And this is a structured way, right? It's not rocket science. It's a structured way for people to be able to swap their problems and frankly, embrace diversity of thinking. It's a really cool tool as well. And someone just asked me this, can you use it with other teams? I've seen it with HBO. Let me give you an example where the product development team actually did an impossible to possible with the legal team. And what was cool about that is when you are swapping problems with maybe a group that you view as a problem, you can learn how they think and they can give you the solutions to your problem that are within their purview and they approve. Okay, a couple more things coming in. Oh, Alain, thank you. Alain, one of my favorite facilitators here at FutureThink. He was just typing in here from Europe too, how great Kill a Stupid Rule is, and it applies to the pandemic. One thing I've always thought is really interesting is how so many people told us that we couldn't possibly work all remotely. And I think about this with my kids' school. Oh, we'll never be able to do education online. Well, we know as learning and development experts and people that are experts at change, people resist it because they're scared. Sometimes you have to mandate change because otherwise people won't dive in. The biggest compliment I got this week is when I heard a teacher at one of my kids' schools say, you know what, I really hope that this virtual school works because I'd love to be able to work from home more often. I think it's really cool. This was the teacher that actually voiced the most that they didn't want to do school remotely or virtually because they thought it was a stupid idea originally. So Kill a Stupid Rule is a great example where you can actually get rid of the assumptions around how things have to be, and you just can get people to pilot or try getting rid of a rule. Anyway, Alain, thank you for sharing that. We have another one here. You know, will you do a session on the remote workshops? Much needed here in Germany. Which tools and tips could you share? You know, that's a great idea. What I can do in another session is tell, you know, I want these to be free learning support sessions for people, not sales sessions. I can share with people actually the remote sessions that we do. Our mantra is accelerated, 1 skill, 1 tool, 1 hour, and we apply it to a real challenge for teams. And I can share what we do in terms of those workshops and the tools we use that teams can use on their own. You don't need us to do these workshops. We'd love you to, but we can share some of the tools that you might want to be able to do remotely yourself. Kill a Stupid Rule is a great example that we do as a workshop remotely. We do it in 1 hour with teams, and we help them facilitate the process. And because we're good facilitators, we get them to commit to killing certain rules that they might not normally kill in the first place. Listen, we are out of time, and I want to thank everybody again for joining us, for being engaged, and for trying to get to the work that matters. I hope that you'll stop meeting. I hope that you will just start collaborating either pre or during your meetings better, using tools, not just tech. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you at the next one. Thank you for joining us today.